Hey guys, welcome to the Chad Prather Show Tuesday afternoon. Ooh, boy, what a day, what a day. I want to take a deep breath for Pete Hegseth. It looks like they have wrapped on those confirmation hearings. We'll talk about that and break it down. Man, if you are here and you've been waiting on this show to start, thank you. And I want you to go over to where, just jump in the chat. Jump over on Graham's channel on Rumble. Jump in the chat. That's where more people are. And just slap me a big old fat emoji on there with an American flag in support of patriotism. Just in support of Pete Hegseth, who basically owned them today. I mean, just absolutely owned them. And I want to talk about some key highlights to what happened in the Senate confirmation hearing. There were so many things that were there. Liberals, they just annoy me. They just annoy me. There is no common sense whatsoever left in this country. Politics in and of itself drives me crazy, but let me tell you something. These people on the left that just want to just float through life with these weird hypocritical attacks, the things that they do, these straw men, their lack of logic, their lack of critical thinking, they just want to attack. They're a bunch of blathering idiots. They truly are. I mean, these people have been infected with that woke mind virus. I mean, just the feelings over facts is, esoteric, ethereal, just working your way through life, letting your emotions guide you. And then they want to have the audacity to sit in judgment, just look down their nose in condescension towards everybody else. Because how dare anybody have a true opinion, have a black and white opinion, or have a value that goes against their little form of political correctness. Political correctness is the devil. It's satanic. Screw, may I say that? Yes, I can. Screw political correctness. It is straight out of the pit of hell. And there's no such thing as hate speech, and there's no such thing as disinformation or misinformation in a world that values critical thinking. In the free market of ideas, there's no such thing as any of those things. It doesn't exist, because you can critically deduce when something is right or wrong. You don't have to be told by the power mob or the politicians or the permanent people in Washington, D.C., the people that sit in judgment over your life and have absolutely no bearing whatsoever on the responsibilities that it takes for you to live your life. They're blood-sucking people, man. They're just vampires. These D.C. politicians are vampires. I mean, they are the scum of the earth. And you know what's bad is they've made it so that real people, good people, don't want to go and sit through things like Pete Hegseth just sat through for the last 4 hours. Nobody wants to sit through that stuff. Good people, good citizens, good patriots, people with those values, they don't want to subject themselves to the witch hunt. It is an absolute crucifixion of just insanity proportions. And I, for one, I had people back when I was running for office in the state of Texas. People said, "Chad, you got skeletons in your closet." I said, I don't have a closet. We set that on fire a long time ago. We put the skeletons out in the front yard like Halloween decorations. I've lived my life. I've made my mistakes. And I love that about what Pete Hegseth did today, of just saying, I'm a man. I'm a person. I've made mistakes. And he didn't try to justify himself to the woke mob. They're out there with their pitchforks and their torches, and they're coming at. They want blood, all of them. All they want is blood. I got so much I want to say about this today. I said I wasn't going to get fired up. I mean, you know what? Just watching those Senate hearings, they're accusing Pete Hegseth of drinking and being an alcoholic and all those things. It made me want to drink, for crying out loud. We're going to get into it. Before we do, man. Oh boy, howdy. You know what? I'm trying to do all the good stuff in life. You try to eat good, try to take care of yourself. You try to exercise a little bit. Drink a little more water. I don't know. What do we do? The older you get, and then you got these people. They're always threatening you. Say, there's going to be some kind of quademic or pandemic or some kind of contagion that's going to come on. And you try to prepare yourself. You try to take care of your family. You try to be prepared for when crazy things happen. Let's say, shipping supplies no longer can come from China or something like that. And weirdly enough, here we are in America where we get all of our prescriptions from China and India. Yeah, places, separated from us by a giant Pacific Ocean. So wouldn't it be cool if you could go to your cabinet, your medicine cabinet, your kitchen cabinet, whatever, and you already had the common prescriptions that the everyday man and woman may need, or maybe even your children. The Wellness Company is going to help you with that. Wellness Company will help you with that. They have your emergency preparedness kits with 5 of the most basic prescriptions that we use on a regular basis. You get a little nausea, you get a little bug, they've got it. You don't have to go stand in line at the pharmacy. You'll have it on hand for an emergency situation. They have the wellness kit. They've got the field emergency kit. They've got the radiation kits. They've got the contagion kits. You can go to twc.health/Chad. A lot of people said, this is big pharma. No, this is actually anti-big pharma. This is anti-big pharma because they're going to give you the opportunity to pick up some other things that used to be those bad words, things like ivermectin and other things that they, turned again into a witch hunt whenever we talked about those things during the so-called pandemic. Go over to twc.health/Chad. Use promo code Prather in the promo code. Save a little bit of money. But get it, the Wellness Company. I love these things. I've got every kit they've got. All right, guys, let's bring him on, the man with the prettiest eyes in the world of podcast production, Royce. Royce makes me moist.
Whoa, Chad.
I'm in a
You
mood,
did
Royce.
not just say that.
Oh, Royce, he'll make you moist.
No. We're not starting that one, Chad.
There will
not.
be, don't do it. Patriot Hammer.
No.
Graham,
No.
the Patriot Hammer.
Chad, my mother watches this show.
Well, you know what? I love your mother, and with all due respect to her, she made a pretty baby. She made a pretty baby. Royce, you're a good man. You've put up with a lot of stuff. How much of this Senate confirmation hearing did you have the opportunity to tune into while you were working this morning?
I've had it on all day, just listening to it in the background here and there. So I paid attention during the blow-ups and the explosions and the screaming and all that stuff that's been happening. But it was interesting. The Democrats they're coming at him hard. They're trying to blame him for all the little stuff that he's already admitted, and I don't think it's going to work. I think in the end he's going to get confirmed, and I'm excited about it.
I saw in him an air of confidence. He was exuding confidence, and I believe a lot of that is one because he's a confident person. Yeah, when you've been shot at, when bullets have whizzed past you in combat, you really don't care about the barbs that come from a woke senator.
Not only that, but when you have nothing to hide, I think some sort of wave of confidence flows over you at that point as well. When you know that everything that they're going to throw at you, the world already knows, and you've confronted, and it's all out there, and you have nothing to hide. There's no reason to be anything but confident. So I think he's ready. But man, those people, it was like in the first 15 or 20 minutes, they were just getting up and screaming. Can't wait to talk to Graham about that here later.
Yeah.
Trying to interrupt his whole hearing thing, and he was unfazed, completely unfazed. It was impressive.
Yeah, I mean, he's been through enough. He's confident, and he's also, his FBI report came back unremarkable. That was the official term, and also he knows he's going to get the confirmation. I would be shocked if he doesn't get the confirmation. Royce, if you've got access to Graham's Rumble channel, block that troll that's in there who's taking up the chat. We're not going to tolerate that kind of stuff. If you could see it, you can't miss it, actually. But
I see it.
You see it, yeah. People have nothing to do with their time. God bless them. Kind of reminds me, reading that. There you go. It's removed now. Kind of reminds you of the girl that just got hothoused 1,000 times by strange dudes and broke the world record. I don't want to talk about that again. We dealt with that this morning on Graham's show. I don't want to talk about that girl who broke the record for the most sexual partners in a 12-hour period. It's disgusting, the world we're living in.
Really quick, not to stay in that, but could you imagine if it was reversed though? If a dude was like, "Yeah, I did this in 12 hours."
It's a fair point. If a guy did that, he would be brought up on, all kind of charges of harassment and sexual abuse and these kind of things. He would be a pig. He'd be garbage. And yet you just have garbage men who aren't men at all out there who glorify this type of behavior with the OnlyFans and the stupidity and the pornography. Pornography, I'll put it this way. Pornography is a pervasive evil in our society. Men deal with it. All men have that temptation because men are visual creatures. They are, and they are visually tempted. And so the fact that it is so pervasive, either the OnlyFans or the pornography websites that are out there, even to the Instagram, the way they slide things in, it really is. It's hard, without coming down on just the filth that's out there. But men, I'm telling you, you got to set a guard on your heart and your eyes. It's just crazy. But this stuff being glorified and laundered to the general public, and we have young men and women we're leaving our kids, our boys, on these screens all day long. And one of these days, I'll get my friend Tessa Stuckey, who is a parent therapist, and she's written a book called, Look Up, talking about getting your kids out of these screens. I mean, it's just evil, the stuff that's out there. And anyway, I wanted to say a few cuss words at a screen today, too, watching these idiot senators try to grill Pete Hegseth. Let's get into a couple of things. Let me do an end around. First of all, now that I've got you guys on here, let me do what I promised on Graham Allen Show, because I don't want to belabor this point. I talked with somebody, a good friend of mine someone who knows. He's well connected with the Green Berets. And you remember this Cybertruck that exploded and the suicide that happened and the conspiracy theories from New Year's Day out front of the Trump Hotel there in Las Vegas.
Yes.
And there was everybody. I said, something about this just doesn't pass the smell test. There's something about it that I just don't see the conspiracies that I don't see the things that people are chasing. And there's a lot of people who disagree with me. I went on X and I made a post about it. I said, I truly think this was a guy who had mental illness and he killed himself. Now, there were a lot of mysterious things. There were a lot of weird things that happened. There were documents that didn't get burned up and all that. And I even came on Graham's show and we talked about this. I got a message, or I talked to my friend who is well connected, who deals with these types of cases through certain foundations, and he said this guy had a record. He had a record of just trauma and stress, and he was suicidal, and he had dealt with so many things. And the problem, and the thing that should really piss Americans off, is how the government dropped the ball when it came to this guy. And I heard some of the stories. And as you know, if a veteran commits suicide, that's it. There's no more benefits. The benefits don't go to the family. That's why a lot of veterans choose to commit suicide through a vehicle crash, and they don't count that as the, quote, 22 a day, which the number is much higher than that. They kill themselves in an automobile crash because it doesn't count as a suicide, and their families still get benefits. But the way the government and bureaucracy simply dropped the ball on this guy's family, his family, his wife/girlfriend, his partner, whatever she was, and their children, is just a sad, sad testament. So I'm just telling you guys on good authority that this guy had been on their radar for a long time, and they had dropped the ball. When it came to this guy's care. They knew about this guy. He was all over their radar.
There's still so much conspiracy around the whole thing, though. Like, I still think there's not that I've seen, clear answer as to why a Cybertruck in front of Trump Tower. Yeah. It's just the most bizarre, weird thing to happen, especially after New Orleans. Like, within, how long after New Orleans did that happen? It's like the next day, right? Same day?
Matter of hours. I mean, the thing in New Orleans happened at 3:15 in the morning, I believe it was, and then the Cybertruck thing happened around noon-ish. I'm in a different time zone, so I can't remember exactly what time that happened. But I remember seeing about it in the early afternoon, and I wasn't surprised. But this thing just didn't pass the smell test overall. But they said that this guy had been kind of doing a lot of crazy stuff, a lot of mental things for quite some time. And they knew about it. He was on the radar. And they said, and he told me some stories about what the Biden administration literally turned down in terms of what this veteran was dealing with, this Green Beret guy. And so it's a tragic story because now his wife and children, they don't get the benefits. There's not a good deal at all. It's a sad, sad situation. And I know we love to chase the conspiracies, and a lot of times there are things that are there, and there aren't always things that add up, and I get that. But this one, I just was like, the tragedy of it, regardless of what happened, is this is why we need a strong Secretary of Defense. We need someone in there, some people who can actually care about our veterans and care about our active duty military. We need people who can, the Veterans Administration is a mess. The whole thing, we've got homeless veterans while illegals are sleeping in 5-star hotels and getting debit cards and meals. People are clearing out shelters. And we got veterans that are on the street. They need mental help. They need health care. There's all these things. And you got to be so careful with that, because if you have a veteran that comes out and says, hey, I'm depressed, or I'm suffering from this or that, now they're on a suicide watch, or maybe they get sort of red flagged, or they can't own a firearm or something. And so, these bureaucrats in the big pharma and the government, health agencies and all these things, these guys don't want to come out and talk about it. And I understand, because, again, you get a label or you get some kind of classification and you're screwed. So all of this stuff is just a mess. Todd said something earlier today. He said our veterans see things, especially those that go to combat. He said they see things that the human body, the human mind is not equipped or created to see. They experience things they're not supposed to see. And so here we go. I mean, and then you got pinheads like that want to just get in here and troll on the on the deal. Our government's trying to kill us, dude. I say this all the time. I was just after we finished this morning's Dear America show. I was having to deal with stuff for some financial reports from my CPA, and it's such a pain. I'm not an administrative guy, and so I'm going through them, highlighting all these things. And I'm working through all this stuff, and I'm just wanting to curse the government the whole time. And I'm sitting there thinking, I said to my CPA, and he would probably be without a job if this were to happen. But I said, maybe Trump will just do away with the IRS. Maybe you just abolish the whole thing, and we don't have to worry about this anymore. And then you sent me this. From Donald Trump. He made this post.
This gets me so excited, man.
President Donald J. Trump announces the external review service. So he says it right there. We've been taxing our great people using the IRS through soft and pathetically weak trade agreements. The American economy, it's delivered growth and prosperity to the world while taxing ourselves. It's true. It's time for that to change. I am announcing that I will create the external review service to collect our tariffs, duties, and all revenue that come from foreign sources. We'll begin charging those that make money off of us with trade, and they will start paying finally their fair share January 20th, 2025. Will be the birth date of the external review service. Make America great again. There's never been any accountability. And there's never been any of that from the stuff that we've given. I mean, I read a report. It's unsubstantiated, but it wouldn't surprise me that several Ukrainian officials, their mansions actually burned down in these Los Angeles wildfires. So there you go. I see somebody in the chat says we need to watch the Sean Ryan podcast. That's another thing. I like Sean Ryan. I think Sean Ryan, by and large, is a good guy. But he got fed a bill of goods. I mean, you got an ex-CIA agent and a current CIA agent, and they're pushing this thing through. And there were too many problems with that email that came through. And my guy even addressed that. He said, yeah, they jumped the gun. They worked too hard to get the clicks before this thing was verified. And you hate to say that, because sometimes you try to be the first one to jump the gun on that Las Vegas story. You want to be the first one that breaks some stuff, but there were some things that just didn't line up in that whole deal. So either way it goes, it's a sad story, that is. But the external review service, would that abolish the IRS? Could that make us a much wealthier country? I think it could.
I think it could, man. And this excites me. I've only paid taxes a few times, but man, it gets me mad. I've not done it as many times as the wise old Chad Prather, but I've done it a few times, and man, it just makes my blood boil every time. Like, why am I giving all this money away? Why am I being taxed when I buy something, when I sell something, when I get paid, when I pay someone? Every single thing, property tax. You go buy a car, you pay tax, all this stuff. Like, I feel like I'm getting robbed when I have to renew my car's tag for $47. I'm like, I already bought the car. Why am I doing this?
You are being robbed. I mean, again, you got to pay tolls to drive on the highways, and whether it's Florida, Texas, wherever, it tolls that for the road construction, you'll never pay those roads off. And then if you get out here in the state of Texas and drive around, our roads are horrible. So they got roads that are going to tear your car apart, but yet you got to pay taxes in order to build the roads, and then you got to tax your car on a car that's getting torn apart by the roads that didn't get fixed by the taxes you paid to fix the stupid roads. It's a mess, dude. So you tax coming, you tax going, you tax when you buy something, you tax when you get taxed when you die. I mean, it's insane. And I just want to be left alone. Like, I work hard. You work hard. Everybody is out there working hard. They want to make their money, and then you got to sit there and you got to basically hire your CPA or some attorney, tax attorney or whatever, to say, hey, I spent this just to exist. I spent this money to exist. And I made this money to exist. But I got this bloated federal government out there that's got to be supported, and they never get audited on anything. But yet they'll sit up there in their uniparty, semicircle and grill a guy that has led people into combat over his personal life and everything else. And I'm watching Hegseth, and I'm like, man, good job, Pete Hegseth, for not biting back, because he could have. And that's why they'll never confirm me to anything. I mean, I'm not going to sit there and be condescended to by the likes of Elizabeth Warren or Mazie Hirono, who's just an abject moron. Like I'm never going to. I don't have the wherewithal or the capability of just sitting there and taking it.
Okay, so really quick, for everybody is going off in the chat because I said that my tag was $47 and that theirs was 100, 115. My mistake. For 1 year, I have the letter right here. For 1 year, to renew my tag for 1 year, it's $37. What is Florida that much better? Okay, I don't know, but $37 for 1 year. It's $73 for 2 years to renew each of my cars, one for mine and my wife's car. So I mean, either way, taking money like that in general, it's all theft. It's all theft. And then it makes me even more mad, like it should everybody, when Joe Biden goes and burns it and gives it away.
Yeah.
Gives it away. And then you're seeing people in East Palestine, Ohio, and you're seeing people in North Carolina. And yes, the people in California are being given pennies. Nothing.
Dude, I got to give you props. I mean, you pull the receipt out, bro.
I just happen to have it right here. I'm like, what did Trump do? He's like, I gotta show him. I
love it, dude. You pulled out the receipts, bro.
I have the receipt.
Information's on here. $1 is too much because taxation is theft. Taxation is theft. I've been round and round with different solutions and things that people could do, that our government could do in terms of supporting itself. And I promise you, and I'll just boil it down to you, it's already private companies that build the roads and maintain the roads. It's just the government that pays them with government funding to do those kind of things. But I promise you, if we had to do it, believe it or not, for thousands of years since the invention of the wheel, people have figured out a way to build a path for that wheel to roll on. We'll get it done. There are things that we can get done. It's just the problem is we've been on the government tit. We've been on the government tit for too long. You got to pop that thing out your mouth, man. And I say this to conservatives because conservatives, quote conservatives, who have for so long claimed that they want limited or smaller government or the government out of their lives. If suddenly the government got smaller tomorrow, a lot of them would be fit to be tied. They wouldn't know what to do with themselves because they become so government.
Elon and Vivek, man, they're gonna cut it all in half, and then we're gonna start. Then we're starting the external. Listen. I'm calling it here, okay? And Graham's already kind of mentioned it. He's like, "Don't pay your taxes. Don't pay your taxes." I'm calling it here. End of 2025, okay? By the end of this year, we're not gonna be paying but pennies, if any, taxes. I'm telling you, man, we're gonna pay our 2024 taxes, and then there's gonna be a big tax reset. And we're going to collect all this money. A, we're not going to need as much for our government, for one, because half of these people are going to be fired unneeded. And B, we're going to start charging these external countries, hopefully absorb Canada and Greenland and stop having to give them hundreds of billions of dollars a year. And we're not going to have to pay taxes. We might even get paid to be Americans. I don't know. That would be amazing.
I mean, there's people in Ukraine getting paid to be Ukrainians. So
that's what I'm saying, man.
Why not?
Trump's going to do it. He's got 4 years. I think he's going to do it in one.
I mean, if the country's profitable, if we're running a good business, shouldn't we actually, benefit from the whole thing? Shouldn't we profit off the whole thing?
Now, I will say, we got big debt in America.
$37 trillion.
Big debt, but I think that's going to happen fast too.
Yeah,
I think that's going to happen.
There's
fast.
a way to do it. I mean, when Elon Musk went into X, just as you brought him up, so I'll use him as an example, and he fires 85% of the employees there, he got rid of all the fat, man. He cut the fat, and look how efficiently the thing ran. You don't need that many people to push papers around Washington, D.C. You don't. That's why it's so dadgum swampy. But again, once you hire these bureaucrats, they're appointed. These bureaucrats get appointed by politicians, and once they get appointed, you can't unappoint them, man. They're there forever, dude. That's why we did it. We talked about it this morning, that 40% of the federal employees have already said, based on a poll, that they're going to oppose everything that Donald Trump does. We've already seen today in the hearings the people who were popping up and complaining, and they had to escort them out. And then you see these politicians who are pushing back against Pete Hegseth, and just on a witch hunt. And so you know they're going to do it. Just go in there and clean the house, man. Clean the slate and just wipe them out. Wipe them out. I want you guys to get on the super chat so we can read some later on.
We got a couple already. You keep $5 or more. We'll read the super chat, bro.
Yeah, I want to see some super chats because I want to discuss this. We got a good discussion going on in the live chat. It's crazy. Let me give you guys a little history lesson about the IRS. Okay, just a couple of years ago when COVID shut down, everybody stopped going to the office. You remember that? Everybody stopped going to the office, and then when things started to open back up, they literally had in the IRS. The federal buildings that are, planted all over the country, they had semi-trailer trucks outside in the parking lot that were filled with your tax returns. They were just sitting there because they couldn't get to them. They couldn't get to them. You'd file your taxes. They wouldn't get to that. There was nobody there to get to them. And then because they were working remotely, they literally said that if everybody came back to the office, it would destroy the Internal Revenue Service because they wouldn't know how to handle the workload and the office load of everybody suddenly coming back to work. So that in and of itself, and maybe I'm not 100% accurate on all that. That's just what I was told. But let me just say, if even a portion of that is true, that shows you how inefficient bureaucracy is. These government institutions, not a single one of you wants to see a letter from the IRS. Not a single one of you wants to have to walk into a government building. You don't want to go to the tag office. You don't want to go to the DMV. You don't want to register a car. You don't want to do any of that stuff. You know why? Because you know you got to deal with bureaucracy. And they're so condescending, so much red tape. I mean, these people will keep you standing in line for hours and hours and hours. And they'll just move at the speed of sloth. So I hope he does. Let's see what Doge does. Put Doge in the chat. DOGE, put Doge in the chat. I hope Vivek and Elon. And again, I'm not on board with everything Elon and Vivek have said. I disagree quite vehemently on the H-1B visa thing. I believe Americans need to be first. We need to have American jobs first. And that whole deal, a lot of those breaks and a lot of those visas were going to people who weren't going to do some superior coding for Microsoft. No, they were coming here and they were working, lower level jobs. And I was opposed to that kind of deal. So let's clean it off. And so, here we are. Doge, baby. And hopefully Doge won't be like a Dodge, because that's a whole other issue right there. That was a whole other deal. And I see what Erica says in the chat. I was told that the IRS was literally throwing away huge bins of mail that had tax returns, letters, would just create even more headaches for many people. And it's true. And you know who gets screwed? You do. You're the one who has to take responsibility for it. And God forbid you ever run for office and have to keep up with campaign finances. Oh, my Lord. I've been having to deal with that, too. Stuff that I thought was closed out 2 years ago. And now we got to go out there and find a couple of invoices. Thankfully, we did. And I was like, wow, it's crazy. Bureaucracy is insane. And it's also somebody can have some kind of, sense of importance, I guess. It's crazy. And here's the thing. Mazie Hirono, pop that up. Mazie Hirono, she is the gift that just keeps on giving when you're looking. If you're entertained by ignorance, the senator from Hawaii.
Which is not a real senator, right? Because it's not, isn't Hawaii like they don't act, like it's just, you know what I'm trying to say here, man. Right? They're not real senators, right?
They're not really electorally representative.
I mean, yeah, that's what it's weird.
Yeah, but Mazie Hirono, I mean, you have these different senators and Congress people out there who want to talk about Guam tipping over, and then she's come up with some doozies over the years. Play this clip. She's she's acting as judge, jury, and executioner with her line of reasoning here. Just watch what she does.
Would you use our military to take over Greenland or an ally of Denmark?
Senator, one of the things that President Trump is so good at is never strategically tipping his hand. And so I would never in this public forum give one way or another direct what orders the president would give me in any context.
That sounds to me that you would contemplate carrying out such an order to basically invade Greenland and take over the Panama Canal. Would you use our military to take over Greenland or...
Dude.
I mean, do we need to? There's 57,000 people that live in Greenland. Do we need the military to take over Greenland? This line of reasoning. So what every single one of these pinheads did is they were searching for a gotcha moment. Their line of reasoning was not, hey, is this guy qualified? And the answer is no. No one is qualified to be the boss of 3.5 million people and $800 billion budget. Nobody's qualified for that. Literally nobody. I mean, that's the nature of this whole deal. So rather than doing a line of reasoning and say, hey, is this guy the guy who can delegate? Can he speak plainly, clearly? Can he think strategically, critically? Does he have common sense? Can we do these things? They're looking for their gotcha moment. So you're saying that you would not rule out using a military force to attack Greenland. I mean, this kind of stuff is insane. This kind of stuff is insane. And then they want to go after his drinking. They want to go after his carousing. They want to go after his womanizing.
This is the same party that defends Hunter Biden.
They defend Hunter Biden.
Are you kidding me?
And our Congress spent $17 million in the last year in hush money for sexual harassment accusations from a sludge fund. You want to talk about slush fund? You want to talk about misusing your tax dollars? I mean, if they spent $17 million in hush money on sexual harassment cases, and these are elected officials, show me the list. Show me the list.
Hypocrites.
They are hypocrites. And so the idea for them to look condescendingly down from their throne and lecture anybody when last year we had a dude getting railed in the Senate hearing room and on live feed his sodomy. I mean, and they're like, oh, just sweep it under the rug. And you're going to sit there and tell me that Pete Hegseth, who is talking about not only his past failures and mistakes and sins, but giving glory to God and proclaiming Jesus Christ as his Savior, who's turned his life around, crediting his wife, crediting his children, and you want to sit there, Tim Kaine, and by the way, Tim Kaine, I don't know about you guys, but I know when somebody's been hitting the bottle a little bit. I can see their face. You know why? Because I've done it myself. Tim Kaine, that's why Mark Wayne, dadgummit Murray from Oklahoma, went after him and said, oh, really? You going to tell me that you guys have never seen one of you senators come in here drunk at night and cast a vote? You've been drinking while you do your job. And I'll also say, anybody that's in the media knows this. Anybody in the media knows this. People do drink on the job. People do drink on the job. I've seen it myself. And I'm not saying what Hegseth has done. And listen, I've been around Pete numerous times. I've never seen Pete drunk. I've never seen Pete tell an off-color joke. I mean, it's not like we're some kind of close buddies or anything, but he always impressed me as a guy who was deliberate and dedicated and serious about the job he was there to do. Party Foul Steve's been around him. Party Foul Steve posted a picture of us on the curvy couch a couple of years ago there on Fox and Friends, and Party Foul Steve right there with Pete Hegseth. And Pete's a very serious dude. He's always just showed that level of professionalism and determination. I love reading some of the Mark Wayne Mullins. Do we have that clip? Can we pull it up? Can you do a quick search of Mark Wayne? I said Murray, didn't I? Mullins. I'm having a hard time with names, but I've been looking at financial reports all day long. And so anyway, I won't forget Elizabeth Warren or Mazie Hirono. And Tim Sheehy, we did a bunch of stuff in support of Tim Sheehy to get elected senator in Montana. Tim Sheehy is also a Navy SEAL and an incredible businessman. And he also brought the facts. I mean, he was throwing darts. But Mark Wayne Mullins from Oklahoma, man, he shut them down in a heart. Yeah, Tim Kaine's got that alcoholic nose. You're right, Party Foul Steve. He got that alcoholic. He got them open pores. You know what I mean? Got that little jaundice surrounded by their rosy cheeks. So, I mean, for any of these people to try to sit up there and lecture anybody on morality is insanity, dude. Just insanity. All right, play the clip. There it is.
It's 3 minutes long. I'm not sure where it is.
No, just go right there. Just go right there at the start, and I'll let you know. Play it right there.
Talking about qualifications and then about us hiring him if we are the board. But there's a lot of senators here I wouldn't have on my board because there is no qualifications except your age, and you got to be living in the state and you're a citizen of the United States to be a senator. Other than the fact we got to convince a lot of people to vote for us. And then when we start talking about qualifications for if you're qualified for it, could the chairman tell me what the qualifications are for the Secretary of Defense? Mr. Chairman, could you tell me what the qualifications are for the Secretary of Defense?
I'd be happy
I'll read it.
For you to do that. Yeah.
Let me read it for you because I Googled
I was getting some advice from my second in command.
Yeah, but I'm just making a point because there's a lot about qualifications, and I think it's so hypocritical of senators, especially on the other side of the aisle, be talking about his qualifications, not going to lead the secretary or be the Secretary of Defense, and yet your qualifications aren't any better. You guys aren't any more qualified to be the senator than I'm qualified to be the senator, except we're lucky enough to be here. But let me read you what the qualifications of the Secretary of Defense is, because I Googled it and went through a lot of different sites, and really it's hard to see. But in general, the U.S. Secretary of Defense position is filled by a civilian. That's it. If you have served in the U.S. Army Forces and have been in the service for, you have to be retired for at least 7 years, and Congress can weigh that. And then there's questions that the senator from Massachusetts brought up about serving on a board inside the military industry, and yet your own secretary that you all voted for, Secretary of Austin, we had to vote on a waiver because he stepped off the board of Raytheon.
Yep.
But I guess that's okay because that's a Democrat Secretary of Defense. But we so quickly forget about that. And then Senator Kaine, or I guess I better use the senator from Virginia, starts bringing up the fact that what if you showed up drunk to your job?
Here it is.
How many senators have showed up drunk to vote at night? Have any of you guys asked them to step down and resign from their job? And don't tell me you haven't seen it because I know you have. And then how many senators do you know have got a divorce before cheating on their wives?
Look out.
Did you ask them to step down? No. But it's for show. You guys make sure you make a big show and point out the hypocrisy because the man's made a mistake.
All right, cut it.
And you want to sit there and say that he's not qualified?
Dude.
That's what common sense looks like.
That's fireball, man.
I mean, that's what, and look at Tim Kaine. I mean, I'm sorry, again, he has the complexion of an alcoholic. He just does. I'm not saying he is or he isn't. I don't know. But Tim, when he popped up on the screen today, I was like, it looked like he was on a bender last night. He might have been drinking today. I don't know. But he's got that look. But, I mean, the smug condescension that these people have of looking down their nose at a guy like Pete Hegseth. And you know what? Pete Hegseth, he's not a perfect guy. Nobody's a perfect guy. I haven't met a perfect guy. I've never met a perfect man. I've never met anybody who claims to walk on water except the one that, came and saved me too. So, I'm willing to look at the man right now. Who is the man right now? They did everything they could to come at him with the personal attacks. There was no record to come after him on. So what they wanted to do is they wanted to come after him on the personal thing so that they could get some kind of gotcha moment. But the idea that these people are wanting to judge you on some moral decision This is the most corrupt group of people in the country. And I know that because moral people don't want to go do that job. They don't. And the longer they're up there, the more corrupt they get. The more corrupt they get. And we could list it off all day long. Yep, got that boozer nose. I see you. I see the comment in there. Oh, man.
That boozer nose.
But let's go to Pete's comment of what he said about his wife. You know, he calls them the two J's, Jenny and Jesus. Let's play this clip. Here's what he had to say.
And as Jenny and I pray together every morning, all glory, regardless of the outcome, belongs to our Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ.
Come on.
His grace and mercy abounds each day. May his will be done.
I like it. I like it. I mean, I don't know how many confirmation hearings you've heard, but you don't usually hear a lot of testimony like that.
When was the last time you heard a Democrat talk like that?
You don't. And I'll tell you another thing, with the exception of on the campaign trail, Kamala Harris went to that little woke, church that she went to, and they laid hands on her and then spouted off all their little, liberal nonsense. You don't ever see them praying for each other. I've seen Donald Trump get hands laid on him. A lot of people are praying for him. And, and then it's just insane what these people justify and what they glorify and all of that. It's so dumb, man. It is just so dumb. Oh, Royce.
I'm trying to find it.
We got, yeah, I know.
Yeah, I'm trying to get it.
It's all good. The trolls, man. They, sometimes the gay trolls just can't keep it in the closet. They just have to keep coming out. They just gotta keep coming out. Yeah, it's insane.
That's so messed up.
People are so. We have people. They just keep creating more Rumble accounts so they can come back on. Imagine.
Well, they keep jumping back and forth between yours and Graham, so I got to sign out, sign in, sign out, sign in. I'm
what they don't understand, other than it's annoying, but it actually does help our algorithm.
Does it?
It does. I mean, it just gets people, back and forth. Gives the algorithm with the chat. But I will tell you, man, you know what? This testimony right here is an amazing testimony. I'm proud of him for doing it. It's not an easy position to take, and I'm proud of him for doing it. I really am. So anyway, good for him on doing that, man. But boy, Royce is on the chat, dude. He is taking care of business and handling things. What else we got? We didn't pull a whole lot of stuff.
We got a couple.
I like this, though. I sent this one over to you, the wonderful Representative Anna Paulina Luna. She is a friend, and I'm just so proud of her stances.
She's great. She's
basically introducing a bill that's pushing the death penalty for pedophiles. No mercy, no escape is what she said. They don't need to go to jail. They need a death penalty. Me personally, I like the idea of the wood chipper, feed them in feet first. I want them to think about the whole thing. But new House GOP bill taken off the streets permanently. I agree. There's no justification for that. It's not a minor attracted person. It's not a MAPS. That's nonsense. This is not an orientation. This is not some kind of sexuality that you can justify. It's not. And the left crazy, again, weird, non-existent logic over there. They have tried to justify these things as just another lifestyle choice. It's not a lifestyle choice. It is wrong. It is wrong, and
it's satanic. It's demonic. If
demonic.
You're letting those thoughts control you and take over, then you are being controlled by a demon, man.
Yeah,
nothing about that is normal. Should ever be normalized. It's so incredibly wrong.
It is a Romans 1. Exchange natural lusts for. Things of it's just insane that these people have tried to justify this and try to make this, this is a person who just couldn't help themselves. Well, we're going to help you. We're going to help you. According to Anna Paulina, we're going to help you. We're going to help you right off the planet and into eternity. I mean, Jesus said, be better that a millstone be hung around one of these people's necks and cast into the bottom of the sea than they harm one of my little ones. But it is demonic. That's a great way to put it. And I think we need all the deterrent in the world when it comes to our children. They need to be a 100% protected class. I think we need armed security around our schools. If you're going to send your kids to schools, I think they need to be fortresses. And then they need to make sure that these traffickers are held accountable. I'm all for Tom Homan and the rest of them talking about sending in Delta teams and dealing with cartels. I mean, if you're going to traffic our people, and you got 400,000 missing children in the country right now, and stuff like this is going on. I say let's give the biggest dadgum deterrent that we can do right now against this type of behavior that would harm our children. There is nothing more precious in the world than the innocent that are among us. And I'll tell you this, the book of Ezekiel, I mean, woe to the people who do not give voice to the voiceless. And our children don't have the voice, man. They are the most innocent among us. And I like this. I like, you know, I mean, if you're not responsible enough to live your life in a responsible way, bring back a penalty.
Fear through strength, man. This is not that we are wanting to kill people, okay? Yeah. But we want to scare them badly enough that they won't commit the crimes that they're committing.
Right.
There has to be. I got spanked as a child, and that made me a better person because I did not want to get spanked, so I avoided doing the thing that I knew would get me spanked. If you put disciplinary things, and this is pretty extreme, right, in place, people know not to cross the lines because they know the outcome of what they do. It has been free reign, first off, with immigrants. I mean, first and foremost, come into our country, do whatever you want with our citizens. You'll go to jail for a couple of days, and then we'll let you right back out.
Yeah.
And then you can even go back to your country, and everything's fine. That is not teaching anybody anything. That is not a strong hand. We need a strong hand.
Yeah.
That's why I like Trump so much, because he can go look at the Taliban in the eyes and show them a photo of his house via satellite and say, if you touch any one of my soldiers, I will kill you. We need that. Yeah. If anyone tries to touch a hair on our kids, to put it plainly, we will kill you. It's just what it is, man. And that's how it should be.
And I'm with you. I got my butt whooped too. My daddy beat me with everything he could find, including, I mean, and you know, I had a big family. You know, my kids, I've got 4 kids. You know, they're all grown and they're very responsible. They're great kids. And I wrote a song years ago called "Beat That Ass." And if you've ever been to one of my live shows, I'll sing it for you. It's a great song called "Beat That Ass." And
it sounds like a song that maybe Cardi B would have written.
Yeah, you know, I always say, you know, conservative comedian Chad Prather came to town and was advocating for child abuse. But you know what? Everybody got a spanking. The beauty of having a big family like I did is you ain't got to beat them all. You just cut one out of the herd and take that one over there and beat that one while the rest of them watch. It's an effective deterrent from behavioral problems. And again, and I'm not advocating for abuse, but I'll tell you what, those kids that get some discipline at home, they don't go to school and try to change their genders because a teacher suggested it. So I'm just saying, and I don't care about political correctness. I don't care who it offends. I don't care if you're gay, straight, black, white, male, female, fat, skinny, identify as he, him, she, her, they, them, or she, him. I don't give a darn how you identify or what it is. Listen, I'm going to call you out on all of it because people are people, and everybody's fallen, and everybody is frail and faulty, and all these people have done these things. We're all sinners, man. We are all sinners. And I'll tell you, this putting people out there because of some kind of physical characteristic as a protected class, and then trying to come up with classifications and weird justifications to make us lenient towards certain behavioral lifestyles and actions that harm other people. Absolutely not, man. We got to get back. I mean, by the way, I won't even bring up the tarring and the feathering that should be happening in Washington, D.C. with some of these bureaucrats, but if you're touching our kids, you need the penalty, man. You need the penalty. The hammer needs to drop. You need to put your toe knuckles on the precipice of eternity and see some lost souls that are floating around in hell and know that's what's coming your way if you touch one of ours, because that is how strongly we should feel about our children in this next generation.
We're not advocating for abuse, but 100% for discipline. It's
you got to have discipline.
You got to have discipline.
And, you know, people can discipline their children however they want to. You know, I think timeouts for losers. And the reason I do is because I think it's a cop-out. I don't believe in gentle parenting. You know, the timeout thing, I understand what you're trying to do, but I think the kid just goes over there and sits in a corner for 10 minutes and strategizes new ways to, you know, do something else to you. So, you know, they just go over there and fuss and fume. We need some behavior modification, man. And again, you know, we joke about bringing back bullying, but, you know, there is something to be said about, you look at animals that run together in a pack. You know, the ones who act up, they get corrected. The ones who act up, they get corrected. You know, I played sports. I was on a baseball team. I was on a football team. And we didn't mess around because we knew that we had an accountability with our teammates that if we screwed up and we got kicked off the team or we got in trouble or we didn't pull the grade or something like that, that our team was going to suffer because of our absence. And so we held each other accountable. There's something about community that holds each other accountable. But the first community has got to be the home. That's got to be the parent, man. And again, no, we're not advocating for abuse. There's a huge difference between discipline and abuse. That's not what we're talking about at all. And it's a shame that we live in a world where we have to clarify that. And I don't think with this audience we do. But we do it anyway because you always have those pinheads that want to come out there and take one of your statements out of context and, do something with it and try to get you canceled or whatever. But here we are, man. We have a nation full of people, a generation full of people who have no discipline themselves. They can't get out of bed in the morning. They can't hold down a job. They're waiting on the government to bail them out. They want their, like Elizabeth Warren said, 5 million have had their student loans forgiven because of Joe Biden. No, listen, are you gonna pay their mortgage too? You're gonna pay their car bill? Are you going to pay their alimony?
Even if I had child support? Even if I had student loans, I wouldn't want it to be forgiven. No. It should not be forgiven. You have to learn to fight that and pay it off on your own. You created the debt, you got to pay it. Mommy and daddy can't be there, especially not the government, to pay it for you. My parents don't pay for my bills. They don't pay my car off. I went and got the car, so I'm going to pay it off. If I want to buy a house, I'm going to pay for it. If you're sitting there expecting for the government or your mommy or your daddy to come and take care of everything for you, then you are weak. And weak people create hard times. Yeah. And that's what we've been through for the past 4 years. We've had weak men in leadership, and it's created the worst, almost end of America as we know it. Yeah. Okay? And that saying resonates with me because weak men create hard times. Hard times create strong men. Strong men create easy times. Easy times create weak men. So they are living off the fruit of the strong men's labor. Yeah. Okay? And it's created weak men, and it's now time to create the weak men again and get to create the strong men again and get the weak men out of office. And thank God the American people stepped up and spoke up on November 5th, and I think we're getting it done. And even so more with Elon and Vivek with clearing out all these 3-letter agencies. Get rid of the weak ones, man. Re-interview them. You'll know who the strong ones are. Get rid of them. It's time for a reset in all of these different organizations. All of them. Yeah. Get them all. Drain the swamp.
Yeah, and a guy like Pete Hegseth who comes out and makes comments about standards in the military and about women serving in combat zones and things like that, and they want to spend their whole time attacking him over that kind of deal because, again, in their world, what is a woman, right? What is it's so dumb. And I'm like, this should be something that people can talk about. Mm-hmm. Like I don't particularly I don't want my daughters in a combat zone. I don't want my daughters, getting shot at or blown up. I don't want that. I would rather take that bullet. I don't want that. And you know what? Real men do that. But if you talk about it, then you're the toxic masculinity. And I want to remind everybody before we get out of here, there's no such thing as toxic masculinity. There's no such thing. Because if it's toxic, it's not masculine. And if it's masculine, it's not toxic. The problem is you've combined these two things, and they don't exist. They are oxymorons. They contradict one another. And if it's toxic, it is not real masculinity. And that's the stuff we got to get back to. And all this, that's why my brand of comedy is unapologetic. We've got brands of apparel, unapologetic, patriots, all this kind of stuff, because we don't apologize. Because if you're going to sit there apologizing for things you said in a book or something you said on a tweet or something like that, you're going to be on the apology tour for the rest of your life trying to make sure that these thin-skinned individuals who bruise so easily with their hurt little victimhood and manufactured oppression, and I won't even sticks and stones to break my bones, but words will never hurt me. And now they're so scared of the words. Got to redefine the language just to make everybody happy and appeased. So I'm not going to spend my life on the apology tour. I ain't doing it. I had somebody come to me at an event years ago, and they said, you need to apologize for something you said. I said, you can spit in one hand and wish in the other and see which one fills up first. But I ain't apologizing for what I said. I said it. Said it. All right. Royce, thank you for another episode. I am screamed out today, man. We got to get Graham back in the studio. I was ready to throw something at the TV there for a little while, And Pete handled himself well. He did good. I think he's going to get the confirmation. Next up, I think, is Marco Rubio for secretary. Tomorrow. Yeah, that'll be tomorrow. So, boys, a lot of emissions coming up on Capitol Hill in Washington, D.C. A lot of emissions, a lot of smoke. A lot of blowhards. I will be in Fredericksburg, Texas this weekend, Saturday night at the Rock Box Theater. You can get tickets at watchchad.com. Watchchad.com is where all the fun stuff is. You can see my full tour schedule. We're always adding new dates. And I want you guys to follow Royce at Royce Chamberlain.
Royce Chamberlain. You'll find me.
Yeah, I'm not going to say the moist thing again.
Yeah.
Royce Chamberlain. You follow me over on X at WatchChad as well as Instagram at WatchChad. We're busy, dude. We are busy. But you know what? It's so much fun getting in. There's a great family in the Dear America Media Group, and not only here but in our chats and in our audience, the people who are listening. If you're listening to this by way of podcast, go to where you can rank it and review it. Give us a 5-star rating. Give us a review. We'd love to see it. And push this thing, like it, share it, hit it, and show up tomorrow morning at 8 Central for another Dear America episode. We haven't heard from Graham. We don't know when Graham will be back, but Graham was at the confirmation hearings today. He was live tweeting and also texting us and keeping us posted of what's going on. So here we go, Royce. Any final words, my brother?
No, just excited for the future, man. Just excited.
We got to do the super chat. Let's jump in there.
Oh,
and do
that's
that
right.
thing real
Let's
quick.
do it.
Let's do that.
Oh, look at that. We got a few here.
Party Foul Steve said, hey, got to do the super chat.
Appreciate it.
Let's do it. Only Pete after. You know what? Let me pull this up right here. Let me see if I can do this on this right here. Because I got the TV is blocked over there. So let me see. Actually, you read it, Royce. See if you can read it.
Only Pete. After this, all Democrats need to vote out.
Democrats. I can't say that.
Democrats. My bad. Democrats need voted out of office. They are proving they hate America and don't think they work for we the people.
No, they don't. These people need to be reminded that they have delegated authority. And it's the only authority they have is what we choose to give them. Yeah. Go back and watch that Bug's Life movie, man. The ants, a good one. When the ants realize, when the grasshoppers, they're like, the ants ever realize we're in trouble.
I identify my super chats being tips, and therefore y'all don't pay taxes on it. Thank you.
Ma Moose, I like your logic there, and we'll do the best we can.
Chad, been following you for a few years since your videos from the truck. Doge can't get here fast enough. God bless you and the show.
Thank you, Jose. I appreciate you, my brother.
Thank you, Jose.
Thank you for supporting and being a part of the family, my friend. Thank you very much.
Azriel.
Gargamel's cat from the Smurfs. Also the Archangel. Yeah.
Okay. Chad,
you're too young for the Smurfs.
I know the Smurfs, but I don't remember him being. I thought it was Gargamel.
Gargamel was the bad guy.
The cat's name was.
Yeah, the cat
Azriel?
was Azriel.
Okay. Yeah. Chad, thank you for joining the party. You are a breath of fresh air. Please let us all remember the point of life is to be the light.
I love it. I love it. The light shines in the darkness comprehends it not.
Kiloho. Timeout does not work, especially when they are told at the store getting a timeout when get home. My kids got a silent count of 1, 2, no 3 as
and that's when they got spanked.
As there was it's weird to read. As there was when got spanked.
I know what you're saying there, Kiloho. I've had people all the time who they're like, I'm gonna count to 3, and I was like, don't count.
Just do.
Just exact that justice. Let them know that it's swift. Don't count.
My mother didn't count before. She was just counting as she was spanking.
Oh, my mother beat me with everything she could get her hands on, from the fly swatter to the hanger.
Meat tenderizer? I've been there.
Boy.
I've been there.
The cheese grater, the collar of the dog.
Cheese grater.
I mean, she'd throw a shoe at you, man. I mean, it was crazy. Beat you half to death, and then when your daddy got home, he beat you again.
My mother would aim right under the cheek. That's even worse. That's worse than the cheek, man. Hit right, upper hamstring.
I grew up in the deep South where you picked a switch. Yeah.
What?
You picked a switch. You went out there and stripped it off a tree yourself. And
jeez.
My mama used to say, go pick out a belt. Go pick out a belt. Go in your daddy's drawer and pick out a belt. And I'd go get one of them canvas like Izod Lacoste. And he'd like, no, go get a real belt.
Leather.
Go get a real belt. Mm-hmm. Boy, howdy.
My dad had a leather belt with like rivets in it.
Oh, God.
Listen, dude, my dad had one of those things where the belts would like pull out, and so you could see all of them.
Yeah.
And so she'd like take us into the closet. It was like a walk-in closet. I'd be standing there, and she'd pull it out, and she's like going through the belts as she's telling me everything I did wrong. And I'm just hoping she wouldn't grab the one with the rivets on it, and she'd grab the one with the metal rivets.
Oh, man.
And she'd
Your
snap
mama was
it. She'd snap it a couple times. You got to meet my mom. You'd like her.
Your mama was out for blood, bro. Your mama was watching the show. I love you, mama. I love you, Mama Chamberlain.
She's a good mama.
What else we got? Striker J's got one in there. I don't know how we got any more super chats on there. I see Striker.
That was the last
J's.
one.
Yeah.
It's funny how life changes. As a kid, you wanted to do the things to avoid spankings. As adults, when I am threatened with getting spanked, I tell them, do not threaten me with a good time.
Hey, you know, Striker J, I always say, you know, when I'm on stage and I'm talking about this kind of stuff, we're making fun of it. I say, I'm hoping to get a little spanking tonight, you know. Maybe I get him a little, But everybody, you know what? Everybody, and I've done live audiences across this country for a long time, at thousands upon thousands of people, and I've always said, how many of y'all got spanked growing up? And you know what? They all clap. They all raise their hand. They cheer because they know their family. Their parents loved them enough to discipline them. And they look back at that and they were like, yeah, like we didn't look at that as they didn't love us. I didn't look at that as abuse. And again, I don't ever want to diminish actual abuse. I mean, we've worked closely with real abuse survivors. But these days, people call things that are abuse that are not abuse. I knew my father loved me. You know, it kept me out of trouble, man. My father had a stroke. Before he died, my father had a stroke, was paralyzed on most of the right side of his body, and he'd still give me a look, and I knew. Do you know how many dumb things I didn't do in life? Because I feared my father. It's one of the reasons why the Bible says it, that the fear of God is the beginning of wisdom. So anyway, there you go. Oh, boy. All right, we got to get out of here, Royce. We got to go. I love you guys so much. Thanks for participating in the chat and being a part of it. We'll see you guys tomorrow morning, 9 a.m., 8 Central, right here on the Rumble, on the YouTube, all the places, X, all the spots, and even Facebook. So, Royce, get yourself some rest, son. Get yourself a little bit of rest. All right? For Dear America, for the Chad Prather Show, thank you so much. Like it, share it, tell your family and friends about this program. We're having a good time. I love you. God bless you. We'll talk to you tomorrow. Bye.